Marin Hess arrived in Corin's Bluff on a Tuesday with a letter of introduction from the Thornhaven Commercial Guild, a genuine interest in the fishing industry's seasonal productivity patterns, and the specific quality of attention that made people feel, when she spoke to them, that they were the most interesting person in any room she had ever occupied. The interest was real. That was what most people did not understand, and what made her good at her work. She was not performing interest in Corin's Bluff's fishing operations. She was genuinely interested in the harbor patterns, the seasonal yields, the specific commercial relationships that a coastal settlement of this size maintained with the larger cities on the route. The interest was an instrument, and it was also simply who she was, which was why it worked. She spent the first morning in the harbor. The boats came in on the 7th hour, and she was on the dock when they arrived, which was not the hour that a visiting commercial factor typically appeared on a dock, and which was why she was there. People who appeared at unusual hours for no announced reason were remembered. People who appeared at unusual hours and immediately demonstrated that the unusual hour had produced something useful. A genuine conversation with the harbor master's assistant, a specific observation about the net mending operation that showed she had been paying attention before she opened her mouth, were remembered differently, as someone worth talking to. The harbor master's assistant was a woman named Estra, 31 years old, who had been doing her current job for 4 years, and who had the specific quality of someone significantly more capable than the role they occupied. Marin noted this in the first 3 minutes of conversation and adjusted accordingly, spoke to her as someone who understood the harbor's full operational picture rather than someone who managed a subset of it, which was the correct approach, and which Estra responded to with a directness she clearly did not use with everyone. By the end of the morning, Marin knew the harbor's supply schedule, the rotation of the boats, and the name of every person Estra considered worth knowing on the dock. She spent the second morning buying Wren breakfast. Wren ran the weighhouse supply arrangements for Corin's Bluff, which meant she knew when every delivery arrived, who signed for it, which routes were reliable, and which had been running behind, and the specific movements of the 2 still watch operatives on the headland post, because the watch's supply cart came through her books on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays. Marin asked about the fishing yields, then the seasonal patterns, then the supply routes. Then, with the specific naturalness of someone moving through a conversation rather than steering it, about the headland. Wren knew about the post the way everyone in Corin's Bluff knew about the post, as background, as the building on the headland that the 2 young watchers occupied. She knew the current rotation's names: Davrin Os, 3 years in the watch, and Kos Arne, 18 months. She knew Kos talked more than Davrin. She knew the supply cart came on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays, and that the monthly log collection happened on the 3rd Friday with a relay rider who always stayed one night at the weighhouse and always paid in advance. Marin listened. She remembered every name. On the 3rd day, she attended the small civic meeting that Corin's Bluff held monthly to discuss harbor maintenance and seasonal planning. She sat in the back. She asked one question about net mending material costs. She left before the final discussion, and people left the meeting having largely forgotten she had been there. She left on the 4th day. In the coastal weighhouse an hour north, she sat at the window table with a cup of tea that had gone slightly cold and wrote in the small notebook that was not the notebook she showed to commercial contacts. The Still Watch Post Supply Schedule, 2nd and 4th Tuesdays, single cart, unaccompanied, no escort. Current rotation: Davrin Os, experienced, 3 years. Kos Arna, 18 months, still developing his field sense. Wren had described him as enthusiastic, without quite having the word for what she meant. which Maren read as someone who had not yet learned to be quiet. Monthly log collection, relay rider, third Friday, overnight at the weigh house, regular and predictable. Estra, harbor master's assistant, capability significantly exceeding her current position, practical intelligence, no institutional loyalty to the watch beyond what neighborly awareness produced. Potentially useful for route monitoring if the right commercial relationship were established. Not a recruitment candidate, too capable to manage comfortably, too well positioned to disappear if something went wrong. Ren, knows the settlement's movements completely, trusted by everyone, not yet aligned to any institution, a contact worth maintaining. She wrote it as plain fact. She had been doing this for 20 years, and she had learned, somewhere in the first 5 of them, that the difference between useful intelligence and useless intelligence was not the quality of the information, but the quality of the recording. A thing described vaguely was a thing that could not be acted on. A thing described precisely was something else entirely. She ordered dinner. She was warm with the weigh housekeeper because she was warm with everyone. Not the warmth of performance, but the genuine interest of someone who found people consistently more interesting than the alternatives. The dinner was good. Tomorrow she was going to Halvir to do the same thing in a different settlement. She was very good at her work,